Well, after what was a brilliant first round of this championship, we're going to head from North America to slightly south North America. We're in Austin, Texas, normally the land of sunshine, today a land of overcast. Here today as qualifying currently underway for this, the second round of this iRacing Grand Prix Series, streaming live on iRacing Live, brought to you by RaceSpotTV. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, race fans. It's hashtag Do You Mind in the commentary booth, and the boys are back because Connery Maddock, after his fantastic trip over in South Africa, is back to join me alongside Connery. Qualifying underway, 2 laps, 8 minutes, and this is arguably the most difficult circuit ever for setup. Michael Partington, winner last time out, fastest lap, 136.6.
Yeah, and the setup is very, very difficult because there's a huge variety of corners around the circuit of America's slow speed corners, medium speed corners, and very high aero dependent corners as well. And it's great to be back, Jake, after my break, and I can't wait to get this race started. Weather, as you said, it's very, very overcast, but the track temperature is still quite warm and the winds are picking up a bit to the east at 15 kilometers an hour. Let's see how this goes.
See how this goes. Tommy Osgaard then has gone fastest. Ducky on pole. Simon Schulze then in the 18 machine, 138.6. He's rounding himself around the triple right-hand corner, penultimate corner. Very difficult at 170 kilometers an hour for that driver in the number 18 machine. Rounds the final corner for the Blue Flag Racing outfit. Will make his drive then over to the line. 137.7, good enough for the 5th row of this 20-car grid. A few drivers haven't set a lap time so far here at the moment, Connery. Drivers like Benjamin Lindsay, of course, who is an ex-Black Stripe in terms of having a pro license. He is a driver that maybe you'd expect to be a little further up the field than he is right now as we look at the 10 of Partington.
Yes, we do, and he's coming towards the latter end of the lap. This sweeping right-hander is basically a triple apex right-hander coming towards the end of the lap, coming through the penultimate corner right now. Partington did a 136.6. See if he can actually improve his position on this lap as he comes through the final corner. Now get the power down early and DRS to the line. It's not going to be an improvement for Michael Partington. Meanwhile, a couple of the drivers coming up to finish their laps. Matt Farrow is one that's just coming up to the final corner now. Hasn't set a lap time just yet, so this will be his only opportunity to set one and get himself further up the grid. Let's see what he does as he comes out of the final corner.
Blue Flag Racing machine, number 6, second last time, and he gets a 136.5 up onto the front row. Matt Farrow does a very good job of things. Benjamin Lindsay will have one more lap after this, but won't have enough time to complete it. Big wiggle coming out of the penultimate corner, final corner, and only a short run to the line for this checkered start-finish line. Different to the start line here, and he does not set a lap time, so Benjamin Lindsay at the back of the field. That is going to surprise quite a few people. Now it's a race against time for the driver of Dennis Branch. He's the last driver who can set a lap time here, Connery, as he now rounds himself through this very difficult left-hand bend.
Yep, exactly. He has around about 36 seconds left, which I think should be more than enough time to get himself back towards the finish line to set another lap time to try and improve on his 137.8 as he just has a little bit of an issue getting through the penultimate corner there, taking a bit too much of the apex, shall I say, as he rounds his way out of the final corner now across the line. What sort of lap time does he set? Actually, that lap time was invalid. He went off track somewhere else on track. We're ready to go to the grid now, Jake.
Yes, we certainly are, and the times are all in. Tommy Osgaard then, Ducky on pole as he sets a 136.421. Second on the grid is Matt Farrow, who managed to get himself up to the front of the field at Montreal last time out. And in third and fourth is Zoran Jonjic and Michael Partington. Fifth position on the grid is Ricardo Orozco, joined alongside by the unluckiest man in sim racing in the form of the number 1 of Riley Preston. Alex Sadler will start in 7th today with Manu Domingo, the champion of last season, in 8th. Victor Prato will start in 9th with Nicholas Rasmussen, the winner at Brands Hatch last season, in position 10. Brian Parkins and Simon Scholes will round out row 6. Row 7 will see Josh Thompson and Dennis Branch. Matteo Ugolotti there in 15th position with Carl Winkler alongside. Michel de Jong with Vincenzo Amico 17th and 18th. And then finally rounding out the 20-car grid is Peter Dimov and Benjamin Lindsay. Talent throughout the entirety of this field here today. That's something that has to keep in mind. Drivers like Vincenzo Amico, who we know has that ability. Benjamin Lindsay, another driver with that ability to go through this field and do an amazing job of things. there will be a chance for other drivers to try and impress. What can Riley Preston do as he looks to try and make his charge through the field? Can Tommy Osgaard hold on to it? It's, of course, the most difficult run into turn number 1 that you will ever see. Up the hill, off camber when you get to the top of the hill, and then you're dropping it down the hill, which has a chance to break away. Remember, this is normally the season finale for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. That will happen September, October time. But here, today, on what is a very overcast June afternoon, it's about who gets themselves on the grid. Just under 30 seconds. Of course, the inside line is the dirty line, so expect drivers like Matt Farrow to have that good advantage on that run-in. Still waiting for Victor Prieto to get himself up onto the grid. He is the only car we're waiting for. There he is, joining the grid right now. So let's get ready. Let's get these lights on. The engine's revving. Give us the green light, because we are ready to go. And it's a shocker, is it, from Osgaard? It was a little bit tentative off the line. Good start there from what was the third row from Ricardo Orozco, who goes down in towards turn number 1. They all get to turn together, and the leaders have turned around early. Osgaard's got away with one, so's Orozco, but Partington getting caught up in that one. Ryan Parkington involved, and I believe Riley Preston having a poor start of things as well. Crazy start that we've just seen there, Connery.
Yeah, but it was an absolute mess back in the field as well. Replay of that one. The leader getting spun from the front of the field, and it caused a little bit of issues behind as well. Unrelated incident between Mano Domingo and what would be the car of Riley Preston there as well. And that was an absolute mess of a first corner.
Well, we said it was going to be difficult here today, and it certainly did prove it. At the front then, Tommy Osgaard, followed by Ricardo Orozco. Alex Sadler from 7th up into position number 3. This is the prime overtaking opportunity.
Riley Preston's around again.
Down into 12, and Riley Preston turned around again, Connery. As you can see, it's Tommy Osgaard losing 1 position, losing 2 positions. Ricardo Orozco to the front.
Yeah, exactly, and Riley Preston just basically outbraked himself, coming down into the heavy braking zone before the backstraight, went straight into the car of Ryan Parkins, turned the number 20 car around. There was the driver that just managed to get himself through. That was Peter Dimov that narrowly avoided the incident.
Yeah, he did. Well, that was something to see. I believe that looking at the front of the field battle, that maybe Tommy Osgaard missed a shift or something, because it was very weird to see him so slow down the mid part of the straight. Orozco, though, has managed to break away a gap of about 7/10 of a second in the early going. Sadler second, Osgaard harrying over the back in third. And it's about who has managed to survive here in this open lap. It will be worth noting the biggest winners and losers in the open lap of this one, as Matt Farrow comes down to pit road on the open lap. He's got damage that he doesn't want to deal with. Only 36 laps here, Connery, and that pit stop means that Matt Farrow is going to have to be working hard as if he was on the 1 stop.
Yeah, basically that's what his strategy is going to be, but his tires will definitely be complaining by the end, changing those tires so early. But looking at the race as it is right now, it still hasn't, even though with that big incident during turn 1, it hasn't really split up the field all too much. The top 3 cars are all within about 2 seconds, and then there's a group of another 4 or so cars from 4th down to 8th. So, well, this isn't over yet. Even with that massive incident, that may have taken out a couple of cars in turn 1.
Biggest big winners and losers up on your screen right now. Michel de Jong in the 19 has gained 13 positions on the opening lap. That's enough to tell you how much he has gained from this. Under pressure now from Nicholas Rasmussen, who is +5. Got drivers like Benjamin Lindsay +11 for the day. Same for Peter Dimov right now. DRS activates on lap 3 here, Connery. And what we are going to see is a lot of people struggling with DRS because so many people have that bent front wing.
Yeah, exactly. And the main, the main DRS zone is, of course, on that back straight here at COTA, but you also get it on the front straight on the run up towards turn number 1 as well. So there's ample opportunity to use that the drag reduction system that these McLaren MP430s have. As I'm just having a look at battle between Michel de Jong, the number 19 car, and Nicholas Rasmussen. They are very close going down into the final corner. We're actually on board with the number 7, the Nicholas Rasmussen, as he tries to find some way past Michel de Jong in front.
Yes, turn number 1. They're going to go up the hill, a big lunge to the inside, and the big defensive maneuver from Michel de Jong covering that off then as the number 2 comes down onto pit road. That's Tommy Osgaard with front wing damage. He wasn't happy, he was P3, so he's decided that that one is going to have to be done in the pit road damage here that he's just seen. Michel de Jong now up into a podium position from what was the penultimate row on the grid. And well, for a 20-car grid that do something like this, well, we thought that Baku was always going to be exciting, but here at Circuit of the Americas, it's just taken that and ramped it up by 10 as the battle continues. Rasmussen will have DRS then as he looks to get onto the brakes, and the pressure now on Michel de Jong, whose time in qualifying was about 9/10 of a second slower than what Rasmussen could do over 1 lap pace. But you have to remember here, Connery, it's going to be different here when you put heavy fuel into the vehicle. Rasmussen underneath the slipstream, going hard to the inside, all going to hit the brakes, all down to the inside. Very heavy defending, and they are going to touch and going to try and cross over right now. And that's going to allow Partington to try and go down to the inside. They're going to continue on it.
Yeah, that was a very cheeky defensive move there from Michel de Jong, squeezing his man all the way to the inside lines. They take it side by side, covering through this tight and twisty middle sector of the lap here at COTA. Michael Partington still not going to be able to find a way around Michel de Jong, but I have to go back to that move. That was very tricky, a very cheeky move, moving in the braking zone like that.
Yeah, moving in the braking zone is something that is not normally advised, but sometimes it does happen. No FIA rules here to really sanction against that. Only the iRacing Sporting Code. Gap at the front of the field is 1 second just, about 1.1 seconds here for Alex Sadler. He's not falling away actually from Ricardo Orozco, gained a 1/10 of a second in that last lap. Battle continues though as Partington went hard down to the inside at turn number 1. Michel de Jong is now going to start falling backwards here. That's the price you pay when drivers are quicker. Behind you, Dennis Branch will be the next driver to make the move.
Yeah, and I don't think Michael Partington even planned that move. He just saw the opportunity open up when Michel de Jong left the door open during turn 1, and he just slung his car down the inside. Nothing Michel de Jong could have done, and that's 1 position gain for Partington.
Riley Preston, I think his day is job done. He's put it down into pit road and said, I can't be bothered to race anymore. He doesn't want to be racing another race at the back, and well, who can blame him? He is the most unluckiest man in all of sim racing. So in terms of retirees at the moment, Matteo Ugolotti, Manu Domingo, Zoran Jonjic, Simon Schultz, and also Riley Preston, we believe, is to be retired, as well as potentially Tommy Osgaard. Osgaard a mile back, though, in the field. So we'll pay attention to this front of the field battle, because Alex Sadler is doing a lot here to try and hold on to Orozco. Orozco needs to have a good turn of pace. They've already gained 7 seconds on Nicholas Rasmussen in the opening 4 laps of this event, Conor.
Yep, they have, but Alex Sadler's at risk of dropping the DRS zone at the moment because he was within that 1 second mark at the beginning of the lap. He's just on the edge of it right now, 1.1 seconds behind, coming towards the final corner. So he's not going to get DRS this time coming across the DRS line. You just see that rear wing stays closed, and well, that means that Alex Sadler will probably be dropping off the back of the leader at quite a rate of knots if he can't do anything about it, especially in this braking zone, which he closes up a couple of tenths. That gap is now within the DRS zone, 0.8 seconds.
Back for P3 as Nicholas Rasmussen will try and hold off Michael Partington. The difference was 1/10 of a second then in terms of the battling between the pair of them. The gap 6/10 of a second overall on circuit. A big train actually going back from about P3 to P9. Rasmussen, Partington, de Jong, Branch is in there, Benjamin Lindsay in there, Peter Dimov and Victor Prato all in that train as well. So drivers like Benjamin Lindsay here, who started at the back of the field looking to try and get themselves back into it. When you have a driver like Benjamin Lindsay, Connery, who has that reputation of being one of the quickest drivers, he puts a lot of pressure on Dennis Branch just in front of him right now. Benjamin Lindsay with a great opportunity, maybe down onto the brakes of the left-hander, thinks second chances about it.
Yeah, not going to happen. Maybe looking at the braking zone at the end of this DRS show, he will get DRS this time by. We have to remember Benjamin Lindsay started at the back of the grid. He's up 13 positions, up into that P number 7. Let's see if we can make it P number 6. He heads into the braking zone of this left hand. He slings one down the inside, and I don't think Dennis Branch is going to fight that. He just lets him through.
He lets him through, and behind that, Victor Prato through on Peter Dimov. So Dimov losing another position as well here as he runs incredibly wide through that very difficult infield section that you see around the Circuit of the Americas. Setting up your vehicle is very difficult here, Conor. You've got to deal with the likes of a very, very high-speed, middle-speed corners like sector number 1. Sector number 2 is about fast and overall pace, and sector number 3 can be a massive challenge. I just saw Michel de Jong go incredibly wide at the penultimate corner. It's not advisable to do that because you rack up incident points.
Yep, you do, and you have 17 incidents that you can occur over the course of the race before you get disqualified by the iRacing system. I just want to go back to the setup talk that you were talking about just there, Jake. Because this track has such a variety of corners, you have to think about, do you want a car that's basically a jack of all trades, master of none, or do you want to specialize in a particular area and then trying to mitigate the damage in other areas? That's the thing your drivers and teams are going to be thinking about.
Yes, it is here, and already we've lost ourselves about 1/4 of your race field in the opening laps of this event. We're at 1/6 distance then through this event, lap 6 out of a potential 36 that we are seeing here today. Back to P3, Nicholas Rasmussen versus Michael Partington versus Michel de Jong as they head down this back straight. The run towards that corner of turn number 12 is always going to be the big, difficult asking point. You try and get yourself down onto the brakes. You're going at 316 kilometers an hour in the form of Nicholas Rasmussen. On the brakes, down to just 95. Left-hander, about 60 degrees of corner there on that left-hand corner. So in terms of having to deal with the angles, it's really going to be wearing away the tyres. But what they have to remember is the track is going to be a lot more slippier. Conditions are overcast today, Connery, and it means that lap times overall are going to be quicker.
Yeah, overcast, but still pretty warm out there in terms of air temperatures, around about 25 degrees in the air, and also 25 degrees on the track. Of course, since it's overcast, the sun isn't shining down on the asphalt, so it isn't heating up, or it isn't eating it up all the rubber on the track. As your P3, P4, P5 drivers are coming around to complete another lap, onto lap 7 now of this 36-lap race, and no one's going to be close enough to make a DRS move coming down into turn number 1. Michael Partington just trying to make all of that back up on the brakes, though, coming down to turn number 1. But it looks like he is absolutely brilliant on the brakes. He just, elsewhere on the track, though, he's just dropping behind a little bit too much to be able to threaten Rasmussen.
Yes, I'm just taking a look at this battle, though, going on between Dennis Branch and Victor Prieto for position number 7 out on circuit right now. Victor Prieto in the 8 machine has a heavy amount of front wing damage. Compare that to the clean nose that Dennis Branch has. It seems that the pair of them are pretty evened out in this respect. So for Victor Prieto, he is still harassing the back, though, of Dennis Branch, and he needs to try and get through as quickly as he can to get back to the 14 of Benjamin Lindsay on the brakes into that left-hander at turn number 11. Isn't going to be able to do it, has DRS to work with, and of course Dennis Branch does not, because he's a 2.5 seconds back from Benjamin Lindsay. Let's listen in on Victor Prieto. Oh, there was a little bit of lift there, Connery, as he tried to go down in there. He wasn't comfortable enough of making that move, decided to back out of it, maybe save a little bit of fuel, because with that front wing damage, that's going to be affecting his fuel consumption rate. With the fact of the matter is that he will also be affected by the top speed as well. It'll also be affecting how much fuel he actually uses per lap.
Yeah, you definitely saw that coming down the back straight as well. Even though Victor Prieto had the DRS, Dennis Branch was still able to keep him behind, going around about the same speed at the end of the back straight. So Victor Prieto struggling with damage at this moment in time. He has to be thinking about now, is it worth coming into pit and get that damage repaired? Is it worth the time lost by pitting so early to get that damage repaired? And I can't make that call right now.
No, I can't make that call. Maybe Matt Farrow is one of the drivers who you have to say is the closest on that call. His last lap was a 1:38.8. We'll see what time he does when he next comes across the start-finish line. He'll round the final corner. This is to work out whether the one-stop may be a viable strategy call here today. Won't be on the tyres, a 1:38.9. So he's about 42 seconds back then of your race leader right now, 43 seconds. Vincenzo Amico will be his next target, who is running at a rate of about 2 to 3 seconds a lap slow. As we look at the battle for P3, Nicholas Rasmussen under a lot of pressure here because Michael Partington is close and is under DRS range. So this might be an availability to make that move. 330 kilometers an hour from Partington and climbing still. Rasmussen's going to save some ERS. He's going to go down to the inside. Partington's going to hold the inside parabola. They get close, and I believe Rasmussen's got away with one there. Very nearly came together, Rasmussen and Partington. Partington, the race winner from round number 1, now into position number 3 here, Connery.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but since the suspension, at least in one direction, is so strong on these Formula 1 cars, it doesn't seem to be any damage to the suspension or front wings of either of those two cars. So there was still a scary moment. He could easily spin out another car by doing that. So Nicholas Rasmussen does run wide on the penultimate corner there. Ostergaard has headed his way down pit road yet again, and well, that is definitely not the day at the office that Ostergaard wanted.
No, the pole sitter, I believe he's in for his third time here in this event. That's probably going to be day done for the number 2 machine there, and he wouldn't have liked it the way that it happened. I want to keep an eye on Benjamin Lindsay, though, in this battle for position number 3, because he's been closing in that gap by about 4/10 of a second a lap on Michel de Jong here in the 19 machine, as he takes a huge chunk of curb out of that very difficult Maggots-Beckett-esque section of sector number 1. Connery, this is something that you also have to remember. This track is only 5 years old as a concept. It is a very new track compared to some other people, well, some other circuits, shall we say. So in terms of trying to work out where you can gain your time, maybe it's a little bit less, how do I put it? Maybe a little bit less easy to work out compared to other circuits.
Yeah, exactly. Another feature of this track, which can be quite tricky to get used to, especially in sim racing if people are racing on, say, a single screen, is that because the track is so wide on entry in some of these corners, it's very, very difficult to see where the apex is. If you look back towards Victor Prieto, he's just managed to get himself past Dennis Branch, in fact, and I think that was coming towards the end of the back straight there. Victor Prieto finally getting the overspeed, coming down into the braking zone. Very, very late on the brakes as well, just taking that position.
Yeah, and that's a very good move into turn 12 for Victor Prieto. He moves up now into position number 7, and look how much time he is already gaining through the triple right-hander. There is no real chance for him to make that move. Battle going on, though, for the last spots inside the top 10. Carl Winkler versus Josh Thompson versus Vincenzo Amico here. And the three of them are really just trying to run some very consistent lap times. The core sim racing machine having to deal with Josh Thompson behind. Thompson now will be looking to try and go down to the inside towards turn number 1 here. Gets a really nice run with the slipstream onto the brakes into turn number 1. He's not going to be able to make that move happen. Maybe set it up for the prime overtaking opportunity, Connery.
Yeah, exactly, as they head down into this very, very aero-dependent section where the apexes just keep coming. And Josh Thompson, look at him, he's just closing up, trying to tug underneath that rear wing of Carl Winkler. But obviously, he's going to lose a whole bunch of front downforce by doing so. And I think Josh Thompson actually has a higher downforce setup here because he wasn't as fast as Carl Winkler down the straight. Or at least didn't have as much of an advantage as we've seen other drivers have with the DRS. And let's see what he does coming down to this corner, this left-hander, just before the back straight here. Takes a wider entry than the car ahead of him, trying to get a bare exit, trying to get the power down. He will have DRS this time by, and he actually will look to make the move coming down into the left-hander at the end of the straight, this turn number 12. But look at that, because of the higher downforce setup that he is running, and a tiny bit of damage to the front wing, in fact, as well, he doesn't have enough speed to make the pass coming down into turn number 12.
Yes, this is where you're going to see the difference in setups here, because some people will opt for that high downforce setup to really work through certain sections of the circuit. Others will go for the low downforce setup to make something work. You could also see through 15 and 16 the much wider line taken there by the driver of Josh Thompson to try and maximise that corner exit speed. But of course, that is going to be something that isn't going to be able to be effective in terms of the battle that he was looking at. Michael Partington, though, is starting to pull away here from Nicholas Rasmussen. 1.1 seconds the gap. The DRS is broken. 1:39 flat then from that driver of Partington. That's a very good lap time from him.
Very, very good lap time indeed, as this battle between the 12 and the 11 is still raging on. Josh Thompson did have the DRS coming down the pit straight that time by, and did not make the move coming down into turn number 1. And you have to feel like Josh Thompson's just getting held up a little bit here because he's not getting past where his car is fastest, and that's in these high-speed corners here with the amount of downforce that he may be running on that car at the moment. And he wants to get past Carl Winkler as fast as possible because Vincenzo Amico behind him is actually catching. Vincenzo Amico got a power slide coming out of the S's section there, so he's not going to be much of a threat anymore, as Josh Thompson still looks to chase down the court sim racing driver ahead of him. And there was a little bit of an issue on the apex of the corner there from Carl Winkler. Just got a little bit of a slide on, as Josh Thompson has DRS yet again, but I don't think he's close enough to make the move, and definitely doesn't have the straight line speed to.
He's saving ERS very early down the straight. Of course, the energy recovery system, very crucial in these vehicles. You can use it in short bursts, or you can use it in one long stretch of an attack. But of course, you have to keep charging that up lap after lap after lap. So for Josh Thompson, it's about trying to work out, where can I make the move on this driver of Carl Winkler right now? It just seems that he's unable to really find that chink in the armor. Almost impervious right now, you could say, is Carl Winkler in the number 12 machine. Just by the way, he's trying to get through. Battle just ahead of them, though, is Dennis Branch versus Peter Dimov here. Battle for P8 on circuit. Dimov, of course, with an extensively damaged front wing as well as per lap 1. In fact, he's managed to get that recovered from all what has been going on for Dimov. So for Dimov versus Branch right now, Dimov now looking to try and make that move here. Difference in lap times that last time by, well, just a few hundredths of a second. Dimov didn't make any real gains.
No, he didn't, and well, it's still a gain of half a tenth of a second, but you need quite a few half a tenths of a second to make any meaningful gains on the opponent ahead of you. As he's now feeling the effects of the dirty air coming through the high downforce section, but now he's in a position within a second to get DRS coming down the back straight, and he's going to go very, very wide entry here, trying to get a good exit. That's what we saw a lot of drivers do when they have DRS behind them, is coming through that corner. They just prefer to maximize the exit speed and try and get that pass to come down the straight. Pierre Dimov does have the tail ends of the DRS here, but he's not going to be close enough to make the move. Definitely not coming down into the braking zone of 10-12.
Yeah, that was a very heavy break there from Dimov, and I believe he was trying to use scare tactics there on Dennis Branch to try and make sure that he moves himself out of the way. That one wasn't going to work, as Winkler again holds the position over Josh Thompson just behind that. Want to keep an eye on, though, on this battle for the race lead right now, Alex Sadler versus Ricardo Orozco, because it is actually Alex Sadler who is now starting to find a little bit of second wind here in the battle between the pair of them right now. 1:38.694, his last lap time that he's just done, just a few fractions of a second slower than his fastest lap, which was a 1:38.633. In fact, I'll tell you something very interesting right now, Connery. Both Orozco and Sadler share the fastest lap time to the thousandth of a second.
Yep, I was just about to mention that, so there isn't really much to separate these two drivers at the moment. Maybe Orozco is better on the short run, and Sadler is better in saving his tyres. We'll just have to wait and see. Meanwhile, the number 6 of Matt Farrow is actually down on towards pit road right now, and I don't see, actually he had a little bit of a spin actually coming towards the coming through the penultimate corner, on the exit of the penultimate corner, just trying to get the power down. The car wasn't having any of it, and he had a spin in towards pit entry. Didn't hit any barriers, but he took the toe, and I think that's going to be the end of his race.
Yeah, and that's a shame for Matt Farrow. Of course, did make that pit stop, was on the alternative one stop, and in the end, that's going to prove no dividends for him today, and that's going to mean that it's going to be probably the 7th driver today that we are going to be seeing down on pit road, and it is a shame to see so many drivers taken out of this race so early who could have maybe proved themselves a little bit more in this second round of the championship. Remember, drop weeks are available, though, for these drivers, so it's not the end of the world if they run into issues here today, Connery, because with 4 drop weeks, I believe it is, that they have available to them here in this series, they do have that ability just to say, oh well, it's just one race, I'll try again another day.
Yeah, of course, the iRacing official series are very, very generous, shall we say, with the amount of drop weeks that they give you. So you can drop 4 weeks worth of points if they're your worst results, even if you don't race, and then you may be still in with the championship fight by the end of the season. So that's definitely something that we'll have to keep an eye on, as actually Alex Sadler did take another 1/10 of a second out of Ricardo Orozco that last time by. And this is going to be very, very interesting in the middle stage of this race. Will Alex Sadler be able to carry on this trend of catching Ricardo Orozco and maybe make a fight of it coming towards the end?
Lap 14 here of 36 that we've got going on, heading towards half distance in about 4 laps time in this event. Alex Sadler, he hasn't lost the back here of Orozco, but he is going to be there, of course, as Connery just said. A 1/10 of a second taken off on that last lap, 1.2 the gap between the pair of them. And look at that beautiful corner from Alex Sadler, takes another 1/10 of a second out of the driver of Orozco. It's TNT versus Blue Flag at the moment in this event, and well, Connery, you have to say, Alex Sadler, the people writing him off and dropping back by about 1.6, 1.8 seconds, he has worked hard to bring that gap back down in, and maybe there was a little bit of element of dirty air. It does seem to be that the dirty air does seem to heat those tyres, and Michel de Jong under a lot of pressure right now from the driver of Benjamin Lindsay, who goes to the outside trying to make the move at 16. That's not going to work as they head to the triple right.
Yeah, exactly, and Lindsay also had another opportunity coming down into turn number 12 that almost made it work, but Michel de Jong pushed way wide and somehow still managed to keep the position, as Lindsay is basically, he's just sticking within the DRS zone at the moment. He'll have the DRS this time. By is a big tank slapper from Michel de Jong coming out of the final corner. This may give an opportunity to Lindsay coming up into turn number 1, but I actually don't think by the end of the braking zone he's going to be close enough, as he had a little bit of a look. He showed the nose right there, but he's not going to make the move happen just yet, and Michel de Jong is putting up the defense of his life at the moment.
He certainly is. Both of these drivers started 17th and 20th on the grid. They are now 5th and 6th out in play. Benjamin Lindsay versus Michel de Jong. Alex Sadler, when he crossed the line, was 1.001 behind, and the leader now within DRS range of Alex Sadler. Sadler is now going to start to apply the pressure here and really try and hone in Orozco, who's maybe used his tyres up a little bit earlier than the driver of, say, Alex Sadler has, because Sadler is running lap times almost close to his fast lap of the race. Orozco's lost about 2-3 tenths of tyre life.
Yeah, exactly. Orozco did a 138.962 last time by Alex Sadler, 138.686, and that is just a half a tenth faster than the fastest lap we've seen, as we look back towards Michel de Jong. Michel de Jong is around, and that was no help from anyone else, just struggling to get the power down, going side by side with Benjamin Lindsay, coming down into turn number 12. Lindsay tried to make it work around the outside, and then had to rely on a mistake from Michel de Jong to put him ahead.
Someone was very trigger happy on the throttle, and that's not going to help de Jong's case here after what was such a fantastic start, getting up inside the top 3 in the opening 3 laps of this event. Now under pressure from Dennis Branch and Peter Dimov, so it shows you just how far he's fallen. He's now down in position number 7 in this event right now, and it is a shame to see Michel de Jong lose so much time. What that spin did do and all that battling did, it's allowed now Victor Prieto to get onto the back of Benjamin Lindsay here in the battle between the pair of them right now. And you have to say, for Benjamin Lindsay, he does have the advantage in terms of damage over Victor Prieto. Prieto has been very calm in the way that he's been dealing with the racing so far today, Connery. He's just picked up 1 position at a time, which is what you need to do in overtaking.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you have to remember, he's been struggling with that front wing damage that has occurred to his car. Of course, that happened during that massive turn 1 instant that we had at the start of this race, as Alex Sadler has now closed the gap to your leader to within half a second now. Alex Sadler looking very good right now, but catching is one thing, passing is a completely different thing. To pull out another Murrayism here, Jake, but Alex Sadler looking absolutely impressive at this stage in the race.
Not the best of corners, though, as he heads through turn number 16. It is very difficult because you're hitting the brakes and you're turning left at exactly the same time. By all intents and purposes, that is the machine wanting to really try and break away from you. And actually, that's something we are seeing. Ricardo Orozco is a lot better in this 3rd sector of the lap compared to Alex Sadler. Maybe some of that is down to the dirty air effect. Gap across the line, though, down to 7 tenths of a second. Fastest lap of the event goes to Alex Sadler on a 138.516 then. So he is really trying to apply this pressure to Ricardo Orozco, who's actually started to turn up the wick a little bit there, because that was only a 138.7 second consecutive lap he's done that. It's not going to be good enough at this rate as the pair of them battle for the race lead as they head towards the halfway stage.
Yeah, exactly. And Sadler's just feeling very uncomfortable in that car coming through the 1st sector, because he had a huge amount of understeer from the dirty air of the car in front. That drops him back to around about, actually he's just staying within 7 tenths of a second, definitely within the DRS zone. And let's see if he can do anything on this back straight. He had a little bit of a inside left front lockup coming down into the corner just before this back straight. He will get the DRS coming across the DRS line right there. Not going to be close enough to make a move coming down into turn number 12. But I think if Ricardo Orozco wants to come away with this race, he's going to have to put up such an amazing defense, one of the best that we've seen in this series, to be able to make that happen.
Yes, one of the best, maybe a Rasmussen defense, shall we say, compared to Davide Corps at Brands Hatch. That sort of defense might happen. Benjamin Lindley under pressure from Victor Prieto then, who's going to try and look maybe down to the inside at turn number 12. He's not close enough down on the brakes to make anything happen on the TNT driver. Josh Thompson in the 11, though, already managed to make his way past Dimov, who made a mistake. He had a little bit of an attempt there on Branch. Branch will run wide, though, on the brakes. He'll now have to try and get back up onto the circuit. The room was given there by Josh Thompson. He was allowed to give him no space at all, but around the outside, and what a fantastic move that was from Josh Thompson. Great class show.
Yeah, that really was just around the outside, coming through the slower speed section, and you just see he managed to get the traction down way earlier than Dennis Branch had managed to, and now he's already pulled out a couple of tenths of a second as a result of making that move that we've just seen. And he's also now catching Michel de Jong. He actually caught him by about a second last time by, so Josh Thompson's definitely a driver that's on the move at the moment.
Yes, he is, and well, Josh Thompson 140.3 meets, well, a 140.3 as well from Michel de Jong. So they did similar lap times that last time by, and that was even with Josh Thompson having to deal with that battle. The gap difference is about 1.4 seconds here between the pair of them right now. So the P5, P6 battle, we will switch to Benjamin Lindsay, just still trying to hold that defense compared to Victor Prieto here, the driver who started last on the grid, who's gained plus 15 for the day. Need I remind you in this situation, as all over the back tries Victor Prieto, takes the wide line, tries to get the power down earlier, gets a brilliant run actually coming out of the corner. He'll get a position done before he even hits the DRS marker, then we'll get DRS, then we'll get ERS, and then we'll break away from Benjamin Lindsay. That is absolutely textbook from Victor Prieto.
Yeah, that was an absolutely fantastic exit coming out of turn number 11. Got the move done, as you said before, even the DRS came into effect. He didn't even need the DRS, and the DRS is just a benefit of him pulling away from Benjamin Lindsay at this point in time. And I just have to say, Victor Prieto is doing an amazing job at the moment with the amount of front wing damage that he has. This is an amazing drive with that damage.
It certainly is from Victor Prieto, and he is really showing some great class in that number 8 Champs iRacing machine that we are seeing right now as soon as he heads through the final corner out on circuit. Alex Sadler's lost himself a bit of time over that last lap. When he crossed the line, he was actually outside DRS range. The question is, can he get that DRS range by the time he gets himself to turn number 11? That's going to be the big question that everyone's looking at here, Connery. From the looks of things on the back of Sadler, rounds himself through that corner, needs to be within that 1 second window. Wait to see if the DRS is opened here as he crosses the marker. Now it is, so he is back within 1 second.
Yep, he is. He made up that time in the first sector to try and get back into the DRS zone, but it just looks like that Alex Sadler, even though he's being super aggressive, he's staying on the back of Ricardo Orozco at the moment. He just can't make the move done, can't get close enough to make the move done, and Orozco's getting the much better exits, especially out of turn number 11, just getting the power down and preventing that move from happening on the using the DRS coming down to turn number 12. And also, Alex Sadler had a little bit of an issue coming through the slow middle sector there, just getting the car was just all twitchy, and he's dropped that back to around about 9/10 of a second back from your race leader at this moment in time. And will we see another good exit here from Orozco coming out of the final corner to try and put himself outside of the DRS range? But no, Alex Sadler is still going to be there with DRS. No, he's not actually. DRS not open for Alex Sadler. DRS is not in effect for the number 13.
No, and that's the difference, being that final corner certainly does come into play there for Alexander, because he has that DRS marker line actually before the final corner, so he made some time up there to try and get himself into DRS. The gap was 9/10 of a second, 9.5 of a second actually, when they last crossed the line. That's something just to keep an eye out on in the battles. Josh Thompson versus Michel de Jong here. De Jong starting to struggle with those rear tyres here, Connery. He has been lighting them up. Another half a second from Josh Thompson. The battle for P7 is well and truly on.
Yeah, it really is, and a wider entry from Josh Thompson there, just trying to search for any gap that he can find in Michel de Jong's armor. And this first sector here isn't really a place that he can overtake, so he's just going to sit behind here, just trying to make up some time, as Michel de Jong is struggling a little bit with these highly aero-dependent corners, as Josh Thompson just try to make up the gap here as he gets a good amount of time there coming through the end of the S's section. This puts him in a good opportunity to make a DRS pass coming down the back straight.
It does here as he looks to hit the brakes at 11, goes to the very, very far outside, trying to run that line with a lot of curb there from the driver of Michel de Jong, who will now be under a lot of pressure, has to go full ERS if he wants to defend. Compared to Josh Thompson. Thompson, though, far too close. Hard to the inside, goes almost off the circuit, trying to make that move. Josh Thompson, it was late, and very late on the brakes was the driver of Michel de Jong. Both of them are going to run out wide then onto the asphalt. Thank you, Herman Tilke, for that design, and he goes back into position number 7. Now, will Josh Thompson, he is now +6 for the day. Michel de Jong drops back to only +9.
Yeah, and I think that both drivers are thankful for the track design here, because the huge runoff there, if that was one of the classic tracks, there would have been a gravel trap there that both drivers may have been caught in. But that is Josh Thompson up to P number 7, up 6 for the... Oh, de Jong's crashed. He's out.
Oh, Michel de Jong once again has run into issues in the 19. We'll get a replay on screen of what has happened for him. Rounds himself through the triple right, heads to the left-hand corner, and well, he goes for it, gets himself turned around, big spin into the wall, and that would have been 17 instant points by my reckoning there, Connery. He has been flirting with running wide at multiple occasions during this event.
Yeah, and that will be Michel de Jong disqualified from this race due to incident points. And, well, you can say that that wouldn't have really mattered, because the incident of that size would have meant that he was out of the race anyway. So as we look towards the race leaders now, this is Alex Sadler and Ricardo Orozco. Alex Sadler just on the edge of the DRS zone right now. He's just within 1.1 seconds. That's not going to be enough coming up to the DRS activation point to get the benefit of that DRS. And now Alex Sadler is really struggling, I think, with tire wear, because he's been trying so hard to try and catch up and pass Ricardo Orozco that he's taken a little bit too much out of the tires. It may be advisable for him to let the tires cool down for a moment before having another try.
Maybe that's where the inexperience comes into play. He loses 3/10 over that lap compared to Ricardo Orozco. 138.7 meets a 139 flat. 15 laps to go here at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. And well, if there is any stone cold leader right now, Orozco has been leading since lap number 1 of this event, when he made that move on Tommy Osgaard down into turn number 12. That's where he's managed to get that advantage so far in this event. Otherwise, it is a very spaced out race here today, Connery. Most of that is down to the fact that quite a few people had damage in turn number 1, and quite a few people have been struggling to keep this car on the proverbial island.
Yep, exactly. It was a very, very messy race start, and the closest battle on track right now is, at least on the lead lap, is the one between the number 8 machine of Victor Prieto and Benjamin Lindsay. And, well, back to you, Jake, because I think we're about to go to commercials.
Yes, we are here, and well, the action doesn't stop here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. We'll be back in a couple of moments, because we're going to take you RaceSpotTV side by side.
When I sat in the car, you always wonder, what's it going to feel like? You know, it was my first time driving a mid-engine GT car. You know, my thoughts were, wow, this is really good for our first time in a car. I was really surprised by it. You're sitting low, you got the A-pillars at steep angles, the windshield's at steep angles, you can see the fender flares. I think we have a chance to win. Everything's got to go right, but I think we have a car that can win the race or be on the podium. But can you imagine how cool that would be to go back 50 years later to the year and do it?
14 to go at a cloudy Austin, Texas. A Circuit of the Americas has thrown up quite a few shocks here this afternoon. A lot of drivers in a lot of unfamiliar positions throughout this event, and the battle we're looking at here is the retort of the 14 of Benjamin Lindsay as he tries to get back past the driver of Victor Prieto right now. Both drivers catching the driver of Nicholas Rasmussen at a rate of 1 second a lap here. So Nicholas Rasmussen might be dragged into the battle of P4, P5, P6 on circuit. You will notice though at the front of your field the gap has opened to 2.4 seconds here between Ricardo Orozco and Alex Sadler. Sadler has had an absolute horror lap, lost 1 second through one mistake at turn number 11. It's hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry joined alongside with Connery Maddock. Connery, Alex Sadler might have just given the win away to Ricardo Orozco here.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case. He's around about 2.3 seconds right now, so he's made up a tenth of a second over the course of this lap alone. But that's not going to be enough coming towards the end of this race. We have around about 13 laps to go at this point, and he really needs to pull out all the stops if he has any chance at taking this race wing or hope for a mistake from Ricardo Orozco.
A mistake would be very lovely from Ricardo Orozco, but he's seen as the driver who hasn't been able to do that in the last few stages. Rasmussen lost half a second though on that last lap to Victor Prieto there in the Champs iRacing machine. The gap now is 1.5 seconds between Prieto and Rasmussen. And remember, Victor Prieto is doing this with a heavily damaged front wing, so he's doing a great job of things. Lindsay holding onto the back of him, started at the back of the field, now up into position number 6. So he's plus 14, was up at position number 5 for a moment, Connery. Nicholas Rasmussen is under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, he really is, and well, that was, as I said, another half a second last time by. What was the deficit that Nicholas Rasmussen has to Victor Prieto and, of course, Benjamin Lindsay. So this will be relatively short. It will be a 3-car fight for P number 4, 5, and 6 as they head their way through the triple apex right-hander here. This is where the effect of the dirty air is going to be significant if you're trying to follow another car, as all cars just spread out through there. Lindsay running a little bit wide coming through the penultimate corner, though, as looking towards the top of your field. In fact, Ricardo Orozco is saying 139.0, and that's actually dropping back even further by about 0.3 of a second last time by.
0.3 of a second is not going to be helping Sadler, and that's down to the fact that Ricardo Orozco is just staying more consistent. The tyres we were talking about were starting to get a little bit used. Big wiggle from Benjamin Lindsay out of turn number 1 and into 2. That's Benjamin Lindsay. That's what he's done all day long. He's just had those little wiggles and has been trying to micromanage his steering inputs to try and correct those. But Benjamin Lindsay, the more he does that, the more he wears those tyres down, the longer he stays behind, the more he gets bogged down, the more he gets frustrated. That's where the chances come. Look at Victor Prieto. He has rattled onto the back of Rasmussen, and he's now got a brilliant opportunity to make the move happen into 12.
Yep, this could be his opportunity now, but Nicholas Rasmussen does get the better exit coming out of turn number 11, but that's going to be somewhat negated by the benefit of the DRS that Victor Prieto will have. But you have to remember, Victor Prieto is suffering in terms of his straight line speed because of the aero damage to his front wing, so he's not going to get as much of a benefit from the DRS as other drivers would otherwise have. He's going to have to make up his time on other parts of the track.
Yes, he certainly will. 13 drivers currently circulating the circuit. Only 12 of them, though, are on the leading lap here. Of course, the driver 1 lap down is Simon Scholzer in the AET machine, but cars who are out today: Michel de Jong, Matt Farrow, Tommy Osgard, Riley Preston, Zoran Jonjic, Manu Domingo, and Matteo Ugolotti. So, world-class drivers out of this field right now. Victor Prieto, tucked in right underneath, will have an opportunity maybe up in towards turn number 1. And well, they are already half a minute off the pace for the race. We want to keep an eye on another battle as well. It's Carl Winkler, who's actually just got through on Dennis Branch during this lap. Winkler is absolutely flying right now. Prieto still looking to try and make that move.
Yeah, and he's not able to do it on any of these DRS streets because of the damage that he has. He has to make it up during a section like this. Even though he has aero damage, he still looks fairly competent in the high downforce sections, like the first sector here at the Circuit of the Americas. And he's going to get the DRS again this time, and actually a very good exit coming out of turn number, I believe that was turn number 9 and 10 right there, coming down into turn number 11. But that advantage just goes away from him a little bit, coming down onto the entry to the corner.
Yes, you can see how Victor Prieto was smooth and surfing his way through the corners, and you can see Rasmussen was trying to hold on to the car at the ragged edge. You saw, of course, there is runoff to deal with, but of course the slowdown penalty factor comes into play if you run a little bit wide. They all bunch up then, this train of 3 battling for position number 4. 10 seconds down the road of them, though, is Michael Parthington. Very quiet race from him today. Got himself up to position number 3, Connery, but hasn't really done anything else since. Hasn't had the opportunity as Prieto runs a little bit wide there and a little bit deep compared to Rasmussen.
Yeah, he does, and he's just going to follow coming through the AAA gas right-hander. But I just want to go back to Michael Partington. Yeah, he hasn't really been doing all that much as Prieto just closes up under the brakes on the penultimate corner. But Partington hasn't really been doing all that much. He's about 20 seconds behind Alex Sadler and 10 seconds ahead of Rasmussen. And of course, this battle that Rasmussen has been having with Victor Prieto. And let's see if Victor Prieto, yeah, he's has such a speed deficit coming towards the braking zone, as actually he gets the braking a little bit wrong coming down through there, just running a little bit wide, and now puts him under threat from Benjamin Lindsay potentially, as actually Lindsay's going to drop back a country mile right here. I'm not sure what's up with that.
That was a fantastic run coming out of turn number 1, just by how deep the driver of Victor Prieto went. But Benjamin Lindsay, that was a faux pas. He didn't want to go down to the inside there because he wants to take the natural racing line. Big wiggle again from Lindsay through turn number 9. That's going to compromise his run up towards turn 11. But look how much Prieto has in terms of overspeed. He knows he can get back. He's about 0.8 of a second a lap quicker, and there's a mistake though from Nicholas Rasmussen. That's going to allow Prieto right up onto the rear, tucked underneath DRS in activation, but he is saving ERS down the straight. That's something you need to keep an eye out on. He was not using the full capabilities because that light was going. Defensive line from Rasmussen again. That's going to give Prieto a better run in towards turn number 13 and 14. He's now going to try and set him up and set him up and set him up a little bit more, but the more he tries to set him up, the more time he'll lose. Big one to the outside, but again, isn't going to happen.
Yeah, you're just seeing the desperation right now for Victor Prieto because he has Benjamin Lindsay all over the back of him, especially coming through that slow speed middle sector. So he has to get this done past, get this pass done, shall we say, very, very soon. Otherwise, he'll just end up losing the position potentially to Benjamin Lindsay, as Lindsay was very, very close coming down into the final corner. Now they're coming on to about 9 laps to go at this point in time. Victor Prieto again is not going to be close enough to make a move coming down to turn number 1. Will Lindsay be close enough to make a move? And no, they just all concertina up coming up to that very slow 10-1.
Yes, they all do. Gap at the front is open to almost 4 seconds now between Orozco and Sadler. I'd say that is race done from Orozco, barring any form of mistakes. But still, Victor Prieto trying to harass the back of Rasmussen. And we know how good Rasmussen is at defending a position, Connery. Go back to Brands Hatch last season. We know that he could hold off Davide Corps for the win for the majority of a race. But this is a different circuit with different characteristics here, and with DRS in play as well. Look to the inside, was only a warning shot from Prieto. He wasn't going to be very happy making that move. He'll get a good run coming out of turn number 11.
It's a very decent run, and he's going to get DRS as a result, but I still think he's going to be close enough because, again, he's suffering way too much in the straight line to be able to make a move done coming down to turn number 12. And elsewhere on the track, Rasmussen's just putting his car in all the right places as Prieto tries it around the outside, coming through the start of the slow speed section here, still not able to make it work. The car positioning for Rasmussen has been absolutely excellent as Prieto tries again around the outside, not able to make it work though.
No, he isn't, and Prieto is just trying everything to try and bring himself back into the fight. Josh Thompson is 8 seconds back of this group and is closing at a rate of about 1 second a lap here on this train. So at the end of the race, we could have Josh Thompson on the back of this 3-car train. That's something to keep an eye out on in the remaining laps of this event. Prieto tucked in right underneath Rasmussen once again on the run towards turn number 1. We'll see how late he goes on the brakes. If he goes to the inside, no, he won't. Lindsay will take this opportunity to close back up, but a little wiggle again from Prieto. Not comfortable with the balance of the vehicle, in my opinion, Connery.
Yep, and obviously the balance won't be as it was at the start of the race because of that front wing damage, and Lindsay is taking a little bit too much speed through these apexes here. That's the car at the back of this trio right here. He was just struggling with the high-speed section because of the dirty air of the two cars in front of him, as Victor Prieto gets a decent run coming out of turn number 9, turn number 10. But again, it's going to be the same situation as last lap, or is it? If Victor Prieto slinging one down the inside, he's had enough, and if he gets a good exit here, he could make that pass complete. You have to remember that Nicholas Rasmussen has the superior straight line speed, and actually Victor Prieto will have DRS to help him. But here comes Rasmussen, the driver's left-hand side of the track, trying to make a reply, coming down into turn number 12. Will he get the move done? They're side by side in the braking zone, and Rasmussen will have, well, he almost gets that repass there, but Prieto is managing to get him behind, and actually Benjamin Lindsay is also behind. Huge tank slap from Nicholas Rasmussen. Now Lindsay has an opportunity on Rasmussen.
Oh, this is brilliant fighting between them. Rasmussen had 6k difference down the straight, even though Prieto had DRS. That's how much damage is on the front of Victor Prieto's vehicle, and that's how well that he fought in resilience against it. Rasmussen loses one position now, goes down to position number 5. Now it's Benjamin Lindsay's turn to make it plus 15 in this event right now. Rasmussen tucked into defense mode, has already lost himself about 1.1 seconds over that last lap. That's just how much. In half a lap, actually, he's managed to lose trying to defend, and that tank slapper as well to boot. So now it's going to be Benjamin Lindsay's turn to try and make this move. Behind that, Josh Thompson managed to close down the gap by 2 seconds on Rasmussen in that last lap. The gap between the pair of them is 6 seconds, Connery. So with 6 laps to go, I reckon he could catch.
Yeah, he could definitely make this one happen if Lindsay and Rasmussen keep fighting at the viciousness they are. Very good run coming out of turn number 8 and 9 for Benjamin Lindsay. Maybe an opportunity coming down into turn number 11. He will have DRS coming down the back straight to maybe try and make something work, as he does not get a good exit coming out of turn number 11. That exit goes to Nicholas Rasmussen, trying to mitigate the damage that the DRS will do to his straight line speed, as Lindsay will be catching, not close enough to make a move down into turn number 12, as actually Victor Prieto is trying to pull away, but you can only pull away so much when he has so little straight line speed.
Yes, and that is a big problem here for Benjamin Lindsay, because he knows that he needs to try and get himself through. Victor Prieto, though, he will be very, very careful about trying to break that 1 second window, because he is better in those slower corners, in the areas where he doesn't have to use that straight line speed. But of course, we all know that the driver of Benjamin Lindsay needs a good opportunity, and butchers actually that triple right-hander as he heads into the left all over the curbs there as well. And he actually loses quite a bit of time through that section, Connery. So for Benjamin Lindsay, he is dropping back a bit, but let's talk about Ricardo Orozco at the front of the field for a second. He's got himself 5 laps to go when he next crosses the line, and he has himself a gap of 5.2 seconds. Alex Sadler has effectively given up an opportunity to win this one.
Yeah, I definitely think that is the case. So Sadler's just going to settle for the second place to try and bring the car home at this point, because he is around about 22, 23 seconds ahead of the third place driver in Michael Partington. So he doesn't really have any pressure at all and can just bring this home for a very respectable second place. But drivers that can't rest at the moment are these drivers of Nicholas Rasmussen and Benjamin Lindsay, are still relatively close on track together, not as close as we have seen. Lindsay's still going to be within that DRS zone, though, coming down out of turn number 11. But he's struggling to get the power down. You just saw the back end of that car just kick out under acceleration. That car is not happy with the amount of load that's going through those rear tires.
No, it isn't, and that's down to driving style, and the best drivers will make sure that they're not kicking that rear out as much as possible. It was worth talking about in the iRacing Road to Pro Series just how much Bono House would do that for Team Redline as he went through every single corner. That's something that you need to learn, that you need to teach yourself out of it. And for these drivers that are looking maybe next season to qualify in the Road for Pro Series, Connery, you have to feel that Benjamin Lindsay and drivers like Nicholas Rasmussen need to get out of this habit of foot first and really try and work on not spinning up those rear tyres.
Yeah, exactly. They have to take a page out of the book of the drivers like Orozco, Sadler and Prieto, who haven't really had as many twitchy moments as Lindsay's having right now, as he gets another one coming out of the final corner. And he has this, drivers like Lindsay and Rasmussen, in order to save those tyres, they just have to stop pushing 110% all the time, because that is going to come back to bite them.
It certainly is. It's like Benjamin Lindsay's trying to wrestle with a box of frogs right now. The fact of the matter is that he's trying to just keep everything contained, but the vehicle is just trying to step out at every given moment with 5 laps to go in this event right now. Want to keep an eye out on the times that it's Prix who's doing. 1:39.7. He is certainly breaking away from Nicholas Rasmussen. For Josh Thompson, he's not closing in enough. The gap is 5 seconds, 5.2 to Rasmussen. So he's not close enough really to make anything happen at this stage of the event. So Benjamin Lindsay now really trying to work on things, trying to get himself back through. Want to keep an eye on another battle though. Ryan Parkins is actually close up to the back of Peter Dimov at a rate of 1.5 seconds a lap, Connery.
Yep, exactly. And there's a little bit of a look on Benjamin Lindsay looking to pass Rasmussen coming down to turn number 12, but it wasn't going to happen. But yeah, this battle has materialized basically out of nowhere between the number 16 and number 20, Peter Dimov and Ryan Parkins. Ryan Parkins will have the DRS this time by coming down the back straight, but not going to get a decent exit coming out of turn number 11. And well, I think this is only going to be a matter of time if he was catching at the margin that you just mentioned, Jake.
Yes, it may just be a matter of time. Parkins is 3:13 down the straight. Dimov onto the brakes, and there's not going to be any change then between the pair of those as they head themselves towards turn numbers 13, 14, etc. Benjamin Lindsay tucked again underneath with 4 laps to go to make the move. Defensive from Rasmussen up into turn number 1. Try and run it around the outside, tries Benjamin Lindsay. Gets a huge slide on it, and he'll drop himself back by about 0.8 of a second. Those tyres are going to be absolutely scorched.
Yeah, those tyres are not going to be happy at all, especially those rear tyres who have been abused throughout the course of this race by Benjamin Lindsay. And I don't think there's any rubber left on those rear tyres by the end of this race, running on the rims. Absolutely not getting the power down at all out of the slow-speed corners. And that is a thing that Nicholas Rasmussen is absolutely exploiting right now to prevent DRS passes from happening. Deep on the brakes when Benjamin Lindsay pushes wide. I think that may be the end of it, with about coming up to about 3 laps to go.
Well, that will have to be something that we'll have to see for Benjamin Lindsay. He, I believe, does get DRS as he heads down the back straight, looking for turn number 12. Again, deep on the brakes. Rasmussen is on full defensive mode right now because he is not pulling away at the rate that he would really want. Parkins versus Dimov, though, is this battle that we're looking on for the final spot inside the top 10. Parkins is deep onto the brakes down to the inside. They're both going to say after you, gentlemen, after you. And now they're going to be side by side on the run down to turn number 12. DRS will happen for the driver of Ryan Parkins. As you can see, already saving ERS is the driver of Peter Dimov. Dimov's going to let that position go. Ryan Parkins made that one look very, very comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. But meanwhile, Benjamin Lindsay is brought himself somehow back into a position where he can challenge Nicholas Rasmussen, and he actually has DRS coming down the pit straight. Not going to be close enough like he was last lap coming down into turn number 1, but very deep on the brakes again from both drivers. Rasmussen doing it in the defensive sense, and Lindsay doing it in the offensive sense as he gets a huge twitch again coming out turn number 1. And I have to wonder how many twitches it takes before he spins off into a barrier.
If Benjamin Lindsay twitches and there's no cameras on him to watch him, does he spin the car around? The answer at the moment is going to be no. Heads himself then through turns number 7. Now turn number 8. This big long corner up the hill. 9. Left-hander trying to get the power down as quickly as possible. Gets a good run here. Gets a huge twitch through 10. And well, that could have very easily ended Benjamin Lindsay's race. And he somehow survives it. Has DRS. Has an opportunity.
Yeah, he does have an opportunity, but will he take it coming down into turn number 12? DRS is wide open for the number 14 machine. Look at the overspeed. He will have an opportunity coming down into brake zone. Defensive inside line for Rasmussen. Very deep around the outside for Benjamin Lindsay. Struggles to make the apex of the corner and pushes wide, but manages to make the pass complete. Rasmussen looking towards the inside of the slow speed section as Lindsay makes a mistake on the outside line there, but Lindsay will manage the whole position. Cuts across the curb a little. Here comes Rasmussen down the inside of the left-hander here. They're still battling. A huge twitch from Lindsay as they come up to the triple right-hander. Lindsay on the inside line, Rasmussen on the outside line. Rasmussen trying to make it work on the outside line. He manages to do it, and he actually gets the inside line for the penultimate corner, and Lindsay's going to have to run wide, and that is a very, very cheeky move there, using the runoff there to gain an advantage. And well, if he was courteous, he'd actually let Rasmussen by at this point, but as it stands right now, Lindsay has made that pass complete.
Dogfight! Absolute dogfight between the pair of them, and maybe a little bit of dirty tactics, you could argue, from the driver of Benjamin Lindsay, but nevertheless, he is through, and there is no FIA to say hand the position back there in that sense. So Rasmussen will be fuming. He has lost that position, and now he's got to be even more careful because Josh Thompson behind him gained 1.6 seconds on that lap, now back only 2.6 with 2 laps to go in this event. What a beautiful fight it was between the pair of them, Connery. Ricardo Orozco with 1 lap to go when he next crosses the line.
Yeah, but it's going to be 1 lap to make something happen for this battle between Lindsay and Rasmussen, as Lindsay gets a huge twitch coming out of turn number 11. This is going to compromise his straight line speed coming all the way down the back straight. Luckily for Lindsay, Rasmussen is not going to have any benefit of the DRS, as actually Orozco is on his final lap right now. White flag is out on track. 1.5 laps to go for this battle as Lindsay makes another mistake coming down into 12.
The tyres are struggling here for the driver of Benjamin Lindsay, and he knows the tyres are struggling. Rasmussen has an opportunity to come back, and round 2 of the dogfight could continue here. Round 16, the pair of them have got to go. Benjamin Lindsay's got to be very careful about how he uses that vehicle now, because the incident points are surely racking up for the 14 machine. So we'll keep an eye on this one as he looks to continue on his dogfight, on his way into this brilliant, brilliant battle. It's Club Scandinavia versus that driver of what is going to be Benjamin Lindsay in the Mid-South Club, as they look to go and scrap it out in this event. The run to turn number 1 between the pair of them right now, Benjamin Lindsay holds an advantage of 0.8 of a second. For my money, that could be enough to hold off the driver Nicholas Rasmussen, but don't count your blessings, not just yet. For Ricardo Orozco though, as he rounds himself turn 14, now turn 15, and now turn 16 as well. Ricardo Orozco has been faultless all day long, took advantage of the incident on turn number 1, and he just didn't look back. Started in position number 5. By the end of the opening lap, he was in position number 1. Penultimate corner then, difficult left-hander, 168 kilometers an hour, and just one final corner, because it's Ricardo Orozco who will take the drive to the line and win at Circuit of the Americas. A brilliant result. Alex Sadler will come home in 2nd position. It is expected Partington will come home in 3rd. Lindsay has a gap, has a big enough of a gap at the moment to hold off Nicholas Rasmussen. Josh Thompson could not do enough to close down the gap of 8 seconds in 8 laps.
No, he couldn't, but I wouldn't say this is over between Lindsay and Rasmussen, because one more twitch or another couple of twitches from the number 14 machine could bring Rasmussen back in this, but right now he's doing all that he needs to do to keep Rasmussen behind. Coming into the triple right-handers now, and it's going to be, well, there's going to have to be not one more twitch for Lindsay, so he actually has to, so he can actually take that P number 5, a little bit of a twitch coming out of the penultimate corner, and he has one more corner to go to secure that P number 5 under, I would say, controversial circumstances with the move he made around on the runoff coming into the penultimate and final corners. But that is going to be Benjamin Lindsay, P number 5. Rasmussen has to settle the 6th.
Yes, he does, and what a fantastic battle that was in the final stages of this event. And with the last of the drivers now making their runs to the line, the likes of Dennis Branch, the likes of Ryan Parkins, Peter Dimov, and Vincenzo Amico as well. Let's bring up then the classified results from Circuit of the Americas, because this was an absolute beauty of a race to watch from start to finish, because it's the number 4 machine that will take the victory overall for TNT Racing. And that driver belongs to Ricardo Orozco in a time of 59 minutes and 25 seconds. He takes the victory by 5.9 over the driver of Alex Sadler in 2nd position. Michael Partington, a quiet day, but a very effective one, as he goes from 4th to 3rd, +1s overall. It's worth noting Alex Sadler also has the fastest lap on lap 16, but Victor Prato, good battling from him, 9th to 4th. Benjamin Lindsay, bit controversial from him getting the final move done, but take no effort away or no credit away from his accomplishments today. +15 out on circuit. That's why he is a former black stripe in this event. Nicholas Rasmussen finishes position number 6 with Josh Thompson there in 7th. Carl Winkler for Core Sim Racing finishes 8th, with Dennis Branch and Ryan Parkins rounding out the top 10. Peter Dimov and Vincenzo Amico are the last drivers then who finish on the leading lap. Simon Schultz finishes 5 laps down at the end of this event, retiring the vehicle. Other retirees include Michel de Jong, Matt Farrow, Tommy Ostgaard, Riley Preston, Zoran Jonjic, Manu Domingo, and Matteo Ugolotti as well. Stay with us though, ladies and gentlemen, because after this, the post-race show is coming to you on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live in just a few moments' time. But with only 12 cars finishing the race, you have to say it was eventful here from a cloudy circuit of the Americas here today. But there were a few surprises in store as Ricardo Orozco would take the victory overall, with Alex Sadler in second setting the fastest lap. Michael Partington, the winner at Montreal, only managing position number 3 today and over half a minute off the pace at the end of the race. This is the post-race show here on RaceSpotTV. Joined with me at hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry is, of course, Mr. Connery Maddock. Connery, we've seen some brilliant battles up and down the field with some great racing throughout, and we've seen a little bit of controversy. Let's get some words out. A little bit of controversy along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Victor Prito, Benjamin Lindsay, and Nicholas Rasmussen gave us a great show, especially in the latter half of that race. Prito managing to negotiate Nicholas Rasmussen, shall we say, and getting himself ahead with a fantastic drive from 9th to 4th, even with a severely damaged front wing, and a good drive despite the little bit of controversy from Benjamin Lindsay from back of the grids up to 5th place position. But of course, that controversy coming towards the penultimate, last couple of laps there, coming into the penultimate corner when he went around the outside when he perhaps shouldn't.
Yeah, maybe so, but what we do have to say also, there was a lot of misdemeanors with the start of this event. We're going to take a look on board with Benjamin Lindsay, that driver who did gain 15 positions. He started last on the grid, and he saw absolutely everything of that move into turn number 1. 2 separate incidents happened. Of course, the first one happened with the likes of Tommy Osgaard, the likes of, say, Matt Farrow as well, and Zoran Jonjic. And then the second incident that happened between Riley Preston and Manu Domingo. Quite a few drivers getting caught up in that first lap incident.
Yep, and I'll save you the list of all of drivers that got involved, because it's pretty much the whole of the field that got in some way involved in that first corner incident. Benjamin Lindsay is one of the few that actually didn't have any contact coming into that first corner, because he was at the back of the grid and is able to slow up sufficiently enough, almost to a stop there, as he negotiated the first lap wreck. And he also had the Riley Preston wreck to avoid as well. So we actually are more with Michel de Jong. I'm getting my de Jongs mixed up, and his negotiation through that first lap incident.
Yeah, and he was absolutely sensational doing so, because he got himself up inside the top 4 by the end of the opening lap, and most of that came down to that big incident. De Jong just managing to skip through merrily. You roll the dice where you get involved into a first lap incident, and you try and hope you roll a 6, and well, a driver like Michel de Jong certainly has here today, Connery. But in the end, he gets a non-finish, and there's quite a few drivers who will be very upset after that result. Good news for them is that they've got 4 drop weeks to work with.
Yeah, exactly. The drivers of the likes of Riley Preston, Tommy Ostergaard, and Zonjic as well, they would be very sore after that incident, shall we say, and the missed opportunity that they had here at this race. And well, they have to be looking into the next few weeks to try and gain a couple of points back. Of course, you do mention that they have those drop weeks to factor in, and of course, the likes of a couple of drivers here actually have the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series to focus on as well. So this is kind of a secondary goal for them.
Yeah, it certainly can be. So that would be something very interesting. Of course, next week they'll be heading over to Imola for round 3 of the championship. That is going to be a beautiful race. Imola, of course, for those of you who don't know, is my favourite circuit probably ever. So in terms of Imola, I'm certainly going to be looking forward to that in 1 week's time. But that's not all that we're going to be having here on RaceSpotTV this afternoon, because it will be a triple header of action here today. Will and Randy will be joining you for the Classic IndyCar Series, which will be starting off in just about 2 hours time, or 2 or 3 hours time from right about now. And of course, just after that, of course that will be at Iowa, I should say, but after that, V8 Super Truck Series, join Francisco and myself at Spa-Francorchamps to see how the trucks can do on the road side of action. Of course, special thanks go to the likes of Blue Flag Racing for helping with the broadcasting that we've got here today. Of course, a huge thank you, of course, goes to all the drivers and to all the teams, and of course for all of you who have been watching at home. A huge thank you has to go to Istvan Balog's Camera Packs for Gourmet. Make sure you check out all his work, and of course our official graphics partner and Wern Design, and of course Appgeneer and ATVO also. But from everyone here at RaceSpotTV, that has been Mr. Paul Smith, that's been Mr. Connery Maddock, and I've been #DoYouMind Jake Sperry. Everything happens for a reason, and the big crazy race out of the way, some people will be fuming, others will have their day in the clouds. Have a good afternoon.